Hello, hello, hello. Here we are. I am warming the conversation. Let's talk. You guys, I'm super excited about my guest for this evening. He's an amazing father, husband, um, minister of music. He does so many amazing things in the community, and I'm super glad to have him be a part of the conversation. As many of you know, this is going to be the last conversation for this particular season. You never know what God is going to do next, but for right now, this is the last conversation um, until God tells me what He wants me to do next. So I'm super, super excited to have my last guest. They always say you save the best for last. So I'm super excited about my last guest and the contributions that he has made to society, to the world on his many platforms. He has done some great things in the music industry. Like I said, he has been a worship leader and made such a significant contribution to those that are Jesus followers. And I'm just so excited to give him an opportunity to share his story and how things have been happening for him. And I'm so glad that he is taking out some time to share with us today some of the things that he has going on and some of the ways that women have contributed to his life and what he has going on. So I'm going to wait for him to come in, and as soon as he does, I'll go ahead and add him to the conversation. But again, I just want to thank everybody so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation and what it is that we have been doing. So, okay, hopefully he's still here. Okay, it says he's watching. Justin, if you can hear me, it's saying you're unable to join. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure if you're doing it from a tablet or from a computer. I should have asked you that. Are you doing it from a computer? Because it's not allowing me to add you to the conversation, if that's the reason why. Hold on 1 second. Let's see. There we go. And now it says I'm waiting. Okay. Now it's letting me add you. It says connecting. Whoa! There we go. There we go. Hi, Justin. Can you hear me? Uh-oh, can you hear me? I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Your earbuds were probably your ear. I'm sorry. Are they AirPods? Everybody ain't
Yeah.
able. Are they
They're
AirPods?
AirPods or AirPods equivalent. There we go.
Yeah, yes. I've seen some of the
How you
equivalents
doing?
now.
It's
They
so good
have
to
been.
see you.
I know, it's so good to see you. I always tell my guests, it's like I just be wanting to reach out and hug people because I just haven't seen people
Yeah.
in so long. It's just like, oh, it's so great to see people outside of the people in my house. Okay, but so I'm so glad that you're joining me. I did a little intro before you came on, just letting people know just what an amazing father and husband and a musician, vocally and instrumentally. I don't know if that's even a word, but I'll say it. And the amazing contributions that you just have made to the music industry and to those of us that are Jesus followers, just gifting your voice and your talents and your gifts, and we appreciate you just being such a willing vessel to share so much of yourself the way you have over the years that I've known you. You're always sharing so much of yourself. So I don't say just thank you to you. I say thank you to your amazing wife and children who lend you to so many people who allow us to take up some of your time. So thank you not just to you, but to your beautiful wife and your amazing family, just for allowing you to take up an hour of your time to spend with me tonight. So I appreciate you. Um,
Oh
but
man.
if you would,
Appreciate you too.
I want you to I want you to tell people, I told people who you are. He's an amazing man, Justin Levy. But I want you to tell people what you do and why you do it.
Um, so I am I grew up. I've had an interesting past. I grew up doing a whole bunch of things. I grew up with a bunch of brothers, and we all. I guess our parents wanted us to stay busy, and it gave us certain. I'm sure they had a vision for us when we were younger. You know, they always had us shooting for, doctors and lawyers and all that crazy stuff. But before, when I was young, my brothers and I were sitting at the kitchen table and we were singing our favorite commission songs. We were just at the kitchen because it seemed like when you're young, that's what it feels like you do most of the time is clean up. When we were kids anyway. My
Listen.
kids don't have to deal with that, okay? But other kid, but we were at the kitchen table and we started singing and harmonizing to the music, and ever since then I had to be 4 or 5 years old,
Wow.
and my parents saw that, and it's like we blinked and we were singing in front of people. It was kind of wild, in hindsight to kind of think about. So um, I started singing at when I was a kid. I started singing before I did anything. I mean, it's like my early while I was figuring out how to ride a bike, I was singing. And so to think of it that way, it was just something that we did, and we were called to. And I've kept it going through the years. I was never the best singer out of my brothers. My brothers could sing circles around me. I just stuck with it, and
Whatever,
and met
Justin.
some. I'm so serious. Like my boys back home, they know what it is. They know that I was a background guy. I was just in the cut, harmonizing, singing middle part, and didn't know what I would do, but something in that was there for me. I could never shake it. So I was made it to college playing sports and doing well and thinking about the rest of my life and just couldn't shake this thing. And I remember when my wife and I were getting, where we were engaged and trying to figure out what we're doing. One day she said, the singing thing, it's a cool hobby. And I'm like, hobby? Eh?
Bobby,
And
wait
I,
a minute.
I don't know if I laughed at her. I don't remember. I just, in my mind, it was a warp because I was like, it's no hobby. I've always done this. I've been doing it since I was a kid. And we had some more conversations about it, and just happened to meet some good people down here in Atlanta. And so it got me into singing. I've been leading worship for years now, directing choirs and that sort of thing, and got into vocal training because of the people that I met, Rob Stevenson and a host of other people, and so training singers and doing arrangements and writing and stuff like that. So just a little bit of everything, and whatever I can get my hands on that's fresh and anointed, or just creative, and just being in that creative environment is always fun. So I enjoy it because I get to help people. I get to walk alongside of people. I get to help build them. It's me. I'm a type of person that I like to work with people and attain goals. Like be a sports background and stuff. So I like
Yeah.
that. I like to aim for something, go get it, and I love the fresh atmosphere. So it's been fresh. I don't feel like I've been doing it very long, and I've been doing it exclusively for maybe the last 6 or 7 years. It feels like nothing. And so
Wow.
God is good, and I'm thankful. Let me say my thank yous to my wife and my babies because they let me make all kinds of noise and they get mad. Even the little boy, he gets rattled when I play music a little loud and he runs out. And so, but I'm so appreciative of them. I'm appreciative of my parents and my brothers and my friends and family who guided me and make me who I am. So.
Well, one thing I will say, Justin, is you are very humble, um, because you are doing such amazing things, and you just like, oh, I just love to sing. Oh, I just love to, you, and of course, people who are functioning within the will of God, that's kind of what they do, right? They kind of just, no, it's not a big deal. I'm just doing what God told me to do, or doing what God said for me to do. And, you know, talk a little bit about what it's like to function in purpose. Because I think so many people are searching for, you know, purpose in these particular seasons, especially with, you know, the pandemic and everything and everybody being at home, being stuck at home. Talk a little bit about what it means to kind of function or flow within your purpose.
I'm sorry, I had to check the key of them birds because they singing in key.
Oh,
Hilarious.
they
uh,
are, and they're very loud.
oh, they giving it to me. They giving it my whole
That's
life.
a musician
They in
for
their
you.
flat though. They in their flat.
That's
So
a
yeah,
musician
I had
for
to
you.
check my.
That is a musician for you.
It's so funny when you're engulfed in it, like things like that just fascinate you. Just like, okay,
Everything
that
is a
sound.
sound.
Hmm. Go over here. But oh, they giving us life. But
If
see,
I
but
hear it
that
in the track, I know where it came from.
I think that's a good illustration of purpose, though. I just did that. I didn't plan. I'm just kind of attention, but when you're in purpose and you're focused like that, things like that are going to happen. You just are doing what God calls you to do. You're just in it, and I enjoy it so much because there's a flow. I you know I I always thought that I would do something that was meaningful eventually in life, and or something that provided that was more conventional. I thought it would be something conventional, and I think that helped me a lot just thinking that process because it kept everything the same. This is definitely not conventional, but the process itself is so conventional. But I sometimes I think of myself as just I mean we're just people doing the best we can. And if I was fixing cars and I loved it like that, I would just be lost in. I've got my uncle passed away some months ago, and he was a guy that just loved cars like he loved cars. Like he would go and and you would see him with a like he was a dude that back home that was it seemed like he had a different car every couple months, and he fixing somebody's car or he used to help my mom out a lot with his car, and it's like if when you love it and you into that purpose, it seems to just kind of bring journey and allow you to fly a bit. It's that thing that sometimes time goes by really fast. Sometimes it's effortless. Not all of it is effortless. I mean, God is going to allow you to earn something in this, but sometimes it's effortless, and it's just really cool to know when you're really locked into it, that some growth can happen, some things can happen, and you can be a part of a wave, you know what I'm saying, a movement in your own life or whatever it may be. But um, I I I I'm on this purpose thing too. It's funny that you asked that. I mean, I'm on this purpose thing. I'm on the pain thing right now. This morning we had rehearsal and the devotion was on, purpose versus pain. And so just when we get fixed on purpose, some things seem to not matter as much, like uh, disappointments that are not as disappointing because you have an end goal, and you're able to kind of push opinions and things like that to the side. It helps me. It helps me continue to be focused and continue to be, humble is how I grew up. I'm a humble guy. You said it, but
Very.
I sometimes it's to my detriment. I'm gonna be honest with you because sometimes I've been built up from my family to be uh, borderline passive, but my purpose pushes me to not be passive.
Right.
And so it's like you can't lay back. I was telling the guys at rehearsal today that I'm an introverted nature, and some of them were shocked. And I'm like,
I'm
but
not shocked.
but you know me, right? You know me for years, and I'll just sit in the back and be like, and I'll be analytical, and my mind will be working, but I won't push myself into a situation unless I
Right.
feel like I'm called to it. But when you call to it, you run to it and you go at it and you attack it, and it gets your whole heart. And I think it's always fun when you are able to pour yourself out in a certain way. So
Right.
yeah, I would say to anybody that's looking for that purpose, um, you know, trust God for it, pray for it, but you'll know it's there when you're not thinking about it.
Right.
You'll know you're
Right.
flying in your destiny when it's like, man, I just looked up and 3 weeks later and I'm up and I'm still managing the store and I'm fine. Huh.
Right.
And I've helped some people in a few weeks and I've had to tell off some people and make sure everything was right, but I'm still fine. It's time for a
Right.
vacation pretty soon, but I'm just fine. So it's
Right.
everybody's walk is different, but the purpose is the main thing.
Right. And I think one of the things that, especially when you're functioning in purpose, um, one of the things you have to remember is that, sometimes people look at what other people are purposed to do and want to say, oh, well, maybe I'm purposed to do the same thing. When, purpose is, your purpose is like a fingerprint.
Right.
Everybody's is different, and it's you're identified by that, and you can't be. I don't really know the word I want to use, but you don't want to take on the identity of another person, or take on the purpose of someone else,
Right.
and not fully flow in what it is that God has designed you to do. It's kind of like, if a phone is finger activated and it's somebody else's, you can't put your thumb on it to open it up, and so you want to make sure that you're flowing in what it is that God has designed, for you, instead of trying to use someone else's fingerprint. You want to create your own imprint or create your own identity, in whatever it is that God has designed you to do. And I just think it's so beautiful that you flow in yours because, I know personally that you've been in situations where, you're not necessarily the main one in leadership or the main one guiding something. And it's, so easy to be distracted when you are not necessarily, so many people think leadership is one thing
Right.
when it's not. Sometimes, especially I'll transition to marriage for this purpose, but leadership is submission. Submission is a form of leadership, being able to be submissive, to whatever it is that God has told you to do, is a form of leadership. It's a form of power to be able to be submissive. And I try to explain that to wives that I mentor and couples that I talk to, because of the fact that submission isn't a dirty word. It's not a curse word. It's not a bad language. People get afraid when they hear that word submissive, but being able to have the power of submission means you're allowing God to have full control and that you're functioning within his will enough
Yeah.
that you are submitting to what he's designed you to submit to. And I think that's such an important place when you're in leadership, being able to submit to the will of God, in what it is that you're doing. So if you would talk a little bit about your opportunities to submit in leadership, um, in worship ministry, and things like that, because I think sometimes people take the role of worship leader for granted, and how much weight it carries. Talk about that a little bit.
I wanna back up just a little bit. You tapped
I knew
onto
you were.
something
I saw that facial
when
expression.
when you when you when you said um, the focus on basically trying to be authentic in yourself as a singer and as a worship leader and all that stuff. That's ongoing. That's a process because what happens in our churches is we figure out what works and then we follow the pattern of what works all the time. And then we stick to that pattern and that pattern works. And then it works until it doesn't. And then what can happen is if you're so busy chasing what works, you may miss God. You may miss a moment to really minister to some of the you'll minister to the ones that like church. You'll minister to the ones that like that feeling, but you'll miss the corners and the
Mm-hmm.
people that are there that need something, that are looking for that special experience. And so I learned very quickly. First of all, I learned that I'm not Shay. I'm not Vashawn. I'm not Tangela Wright. I am not any of these people. I'm not Mo Green. I'm not. And I never, not Rob Stevenson. I'm not those guys. Who I am is Justin. I cannot sing as heavy as those guys, but the spirit in me can be felt just as heavy. You know what I'm saying? So I cannot compare. What I can do is learn and try to, so it's always who are you and what more than what you have to bring, but how can I submit to the atmosphere to make it better for all of us so I can have the communication of leadership from the pulpit. And so like we got to be really careful on that because there are tons of people that just do what works, and what works is not always, the people that do that are big are not those people either. That's the thing that people think of as a fallacy. There are so many people that are, when you look at the Vashawn Mitchells, the Amber Bullock, and these guys that are killing it, it's because they know who they are and they trust who they are, and they're looking for something else. They're not looking to be Kimberell. They're not looking to be
Right.
BB Winans. They're not looking to be those people. They're looking within themselves and they're pouring out. And then whatever happens is good because I've prepped well and done that thing. Now, when it comes to the marriage thing, the crazy part, the transition is so well because we have when we think about marriage is all submission. It's submission from both the male and the female. And it's a hard thing to learn from because we're built up to be strong
Uh-oh, you're breaking up a little
and
bit,
be
Justin.
ready to stand up to anything. Am I breaking up? You got me back? But we're built up to kind
Yeah,
of
you coming
stand up
back.
to
Okay.
anything and be tough. And and so we've built ourselves up this way, and then we meet this woman who's also accidentally really tough and smarter and crafty. And then you get in there and you're like, what have I gotten myself into? And so when we feel overwhelmed a lot of times, we bulldoze everything. We just knock it over. And it's like, instead of just submitting to God first, because that's the active, that's the where it all stems from. If you can submit to God, then you will understand the submission to your wife, because we have to serve and submit too. We have to serve and submit, and that's not all what we want to do. Well, most of the time, we just want to push and bulldoze and knock over and okay, now it's good. Now I can listen to you. And it's an interesting balance. And so I believe that my marriage and learning about God through my marriage has definitely helped my ability to lead. I think that it has helped my ability to communicate a lot better to either, you know, clients or students or whoever. Like I understand so much more. Especially I'm coming from a house full of all brothers. Like the only woman I had in my life was my
Your
mom. Like that
mom.
was it. So like it was just, a lot of wrestling and pushing and shoving and
Aggressiveness. A lot of
yeah,
aggressiveness.
like oh, there was a level of it, a high level, and there wasn't a lot of soft anything. There wasn't a lot of uh, uh, girls fight different.
Yeah. And then God gave you all these girls.
And then God hit me all these girls, man. So, so, so it's been cool. Like I've learned so much through serving my family and understanding the hierarchy of my life and prioritizing my family and it's been really good to me. It really has. It's taught me how to be a better worshiper. It's taught me how to stand in the gap. It's taught me when to do a lot of things.
Right.
It's like, man, I remember when I had my first daughter and I'm like, I don't know anything about this girl stuff. I've no idea. I was learning about marriage, let alone,
Let
girl
alone
stuff.
start raising a little girl.
And to right, and to think of serving my family the way I have and learning a lot of the lessons and how to assist and how to, lead from a different angle.
Yeah,
Um, it's blessed
that's
my,
definitely tough.
I'm telling you, it's blessed the communication. And I've been able to lead from some interesting angles. So
Right.
yeah.
Well, we've talked about the word worship in a lot of ways. How would you define worship? Like, what is worship to you? I won't ask you for like a specific definition because people define worship in different ways. But how would you define worship?
um, personally,
Hmm.
I don't want to, I'm not, I'm not a bishop or a pastor or anything.
Right. That's why I
And
said your definition. It ain't got to be a
I,
nothing
of,
biblical.
I'm just, I gotta do it my way. Okay. So it's really kind of simple for me. Um, it's everything. Everything I am is worship.
Right.
Um, I've learned that the walk with Christ is worship all in itself. Everything we do is worship. If you like something and if you like something, you see it at a store or a mall or something, and you walk past it, and then you walk past it again, your eyes glancing at that purse, and it's just, whew, that thing right there. Like that's worship. Like that's worship. Like let's just be honest. That's what we do with God all the time. When
Mm-hmm.
we think about God and you think about that's worship. That is worship. Like you're speaking well of, and you're doing all the things that we talk about in church. But it's really the air I breathe. It's
Mm,
honestly the walk that you walk daily, and the consistency of your life is worship. So I feel like
right.
even to the ones that don't worship God the way we see worship,
Right.
um, I feel like you can worship God doing your job. I feel like you can worship God with just being your best every day.
Right.
And it's an interesting perspective, but I like it because I feel like if I'm pouring myself into something on behalf of God, then I am also worshiping Him through how I
Yes.
serve people
Yes.
too. And
Yes.
so it's all day, every day worship.
Yeah. And I agree with that so much. I think that it's important that we realize, worship is so many different things, and depending on like who you are as a person, determines kind of how you worship. Some people, worship in the forefront, and some people worship behind the scenes. Like,
Right.
a person who choose to, run the camera, the lights at the church or whatever, they're worshiping too. They're serving. I think worship and serving are cohesive, that they come together.
Yes.
If you worship, you are serving. And to me, it kind of, it directs me to tithing because, so many people, I'm a stay-at-home mom. So I don't have like a routine income. And, my way of worshiping, my way of serving, and my way of tithing is through my gifts. I think
Yeah.
so many people think financial, but, you tithe your gifts, your talents, and your time. Those are all ways that you can tithe, but those are also the same ways that you can serve and worship God through your serving. Even when you feel like you don't have anything to give, and even these conversations that I've been having the past 2 months are a way for me to serve, and forward people an opportunity to um, hear what some Black kings have to say in their particular fields, because I feel like you all don't always have the platforms to share your mind or share your thoughts on the way things functions and the way things work, and I just wanted to remind people in this season that our Black kings are just as knowledgeable and just as intelligent as, the next man, and that they have just as much to say and contribute just as much to society as the next man. So um, it's all worship, as long as you say it, as long as you are being passionate in what it is that you're doing and you're willing to serve, God still considers that to be worship. And I think it was beautiful the way you worded it. I probably didn't word it the same, but I think it was beautiful the way you worded it, because I think sometimes, and even when you mention those who don't believe, because people who sometimes we can be so godly, and correct me if I'm not saying this right, Justin, but sometimes we can be so godly that it's a distraction to those who don't believe. You know, that
Oh
we,
yeah.
we just we so Christian, we so, we so whatever you want to put right there in it. So we so that the ellipses that we deter people from really wanting to experience God. And I think if we would spend more time serving and worshiping, and functioning as an individual to do what we need to do unto God, that we would attract people more in that way than just trying to be so forward with God. And if there are other people who don't believe in what I just said, that's totally okay. That's just my perspective. That sometimes, you know, if you would take a step back and serve and worship God on your own and focus on yourself and do it the way He designed you to, people will be attracted to that, and they'll see God in your life and be attracted to wanting to serve the same God that you serve, because you're not yelling at people at the red light, or you're not screaming at the person in the grocery store who's not moving, because you serve so much and you worship so much that you respond and react in a different way.
I I could not agree more. Um, God shines in so many different ways. Like God can shine His light however He wants to shine His light. It is
Mm-hmm.
not our. It is not up to us. Now we must. We got. We God gave some of us a discerning spirit and discerning eyes, whatever it is, whatever you want to categorize it. I'm not going to deny that. However, when I think of all of the ways that God can use a person or can it's so think of all of the good words you've heard from people that are not they probably are believers. I mean, most of our family and friends are somewhat believers, whatever level that you feel like
Right.
they're at or whatever. But sometimes the smallest thing is so big. Like, I believe in you. Like like I believe in you.
Right.
And I just right now with everything that's going on, um, it's almost like um, that is an important message I think the church should hear, because the church is consistently um, in church mode.
Right.
And so I get church mode. I grew up in it my whole life, but there's still people that desire a connection with God that we are showing church to them instead of showing Christ to them. And it's
Right.
like
That's good, Justin.
it's fascinating to me that people will be offended at that. Like people are like like it's with their actions they're saying church or nothing, and it's like no, like well we're supposed to be giving people God, and we're supposed to be giving people a love. We're
Right.
supposed to be showing people this light and showing people love and showing people whatever it is, and we want to we want them to worship how we worship, and we want them to
Yes.
see Jesus as the white hair with the blowing in the wind Jesus. Like that's the Jesus that we want to show. Like we want to show that Jesus instead of, hey, I'm not in your mind, but can I can see how you can see your Christianity, however you want to see it. If you love right, then we got the same Jesus. It's not
Right.
necessarily what you see, but we have a lot of people that are confused and think that we're supposed to we're supposed to worship the same way. We're supposed to look the same way. We're
Right.
supposed to, it's another thing that I cannot escape some of the conversations that I've been having recently, and it's just because as believers, there's a fallacy with us that we feel like all like our worship experiences need to be the same, or
Right.
our experience of communication with God, it's a certain way, and it's like, well, you know, as long as can you get to him, like, can you,
Right.
if you can reach him, I'm good. I don't really care how
Right.
you reach him. Like, there were so many ways that God used people, and God spoke to people. Like, let's not make that a thing.
Yeah.
Instead, let's just focus on the fact that these people were able to drop Kanye West album. Like, Kanye West album had millions of people
And it was
rapping and
so
singing,
good.
and yeah, it's
It's
dope. I
so
still want,
good.
and it's like you God uses whoever he wants, and the light that he shines is just the light he shines. That's it.
And that's a point right there. I'm gonna say two things because you made me go to two different places. One, seasoned saints in the church. You got your people who are so stuck in the traditional way that
The wifey right there. I just had to shout
oh
her out. That's
oh there's so many people who want to stay stuck in what we call traditional church. They don't want to change it. They still the church got to go this way. If God flow in the service, they don't care. That you got to stick to the schedule. And I'm so glad to see churches that have been and are starting to transition from the tradition of church, and what it used to be. Like, I want people to get away from that old way, and it ain't nothing wrong with it if that's what y'all still want to do. But God ain't gonna keep saving souls the same way he been saving souls, you know, from slavery to now. You know what I'm saying? You got to reach people in a different way because people change all the time, situations change all the time, and seasons change. And so a lot of people have so many rules and structure, and you can't come into church looking like this, and you can't wear makeup, and you can't dress like this. Okay, that's turning people away
right.
from God, and I don't think that that's what He desires, is for people to be turned away
I think
um,
there's a
at all.
challenge. I think there's a challenge to realize in the modern church now that um, the worship experience is going to be different from Sunday to Sunday, from church to church. And the church that we have now is not the church that we had 3 years ago. It's not the church we had 5 years ago. And it's constantly
It's
changing.
not the church we had
And
last year.
exactly. So it's like you don't, I think God has positioned leaders in a way that, and I'm being safe. I promise I'm being safe. Position leaders in a way that they cannot deny. The sound is different, the focus is different, and they can't deny the momentum and where it's been going. And
Mm-hmm.
most of them are not in control of the sound, which is weird. Not a lot of church leaders have the have that uh, have the professionalism and have the ear or the focus.
Right.
They're so focused on word, and they focus on vision of the church, or they focus on these other things that, you know, not that worship is undervalued, but it certainly is somebody else's primary focus and not the church's primary focus all the time. So, and that's good. That can be a good thing as long as they let these worship leaders fly and follow God. If you
Right.
have the right leader that's following God, it could be a special experience. I think most people that are in congregations all across the world are looking for something that's just a special experience, or people that are really chasing God. That's it.
Yeah.
And like, if you're chasing God, it don't matter. Sometimes it don't even matter if the worship team is like great. It's like, hey, they're God chasing. I'm going there with them, and
I
it's
know.
like
It's
that's.
distracting for musicians and vocalists though, if it's not. I can't say it's not.
I
Can
have
you
a
say
hard time. I have a
I
hard
have a
time, but
hard time.
but in the end, it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing. Like, I would want somebody to forgive me for wrong notes. I mess up words all the time,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
connect. If you can connect with me here, then it don't most of the time it doesn't even matter. But it's just, our goals have to be as a body that, that either from a worship perspective, either we're letting them chase after God, or, and we're freeing them up to create an experience that's really after God. Because like the skill is there, the hearts are there. Okay? Because most of the worship leaders don't get credit like that. It's not even about that. And usually their families are under attack just as heavy as pastors and stuff. And
Right.
so it's not about that, but give them
Right.
the freedom to fly and give them freedom to lead. So it's a fascinating place to be that close to worship pastors and worship leaders. And um, I just feel like God has been really good to me and allowed me to be in certain clefts of a rock
Right.
while I lead. Kept my
Well,
family kind of hidden a little bit, and that's been a blessing to me because
right.
at this
Well, we
point,
don't have a lot of time left. We don't have a lot of time left. So I want to ask you two last questions if we can squeeze them in. We have 15 minutes left, and Instagram is going to cut us off at an hour, no matter what they cut us
okay.
off. So, so I want you to talk a little bit about a woman or women who have had an effect on your life and career. And it's, you know, you can name one, you can name a few. It doesn't matter.
My mom. If it all starts with her. Um, she was the funnest lady in the all of Akron, Ohio. Like she was nonstop, especially for our family that was a very overly religious, foundational type of family, like overly, and I say that lovingly.
Okay.
Um, and it just was like she had fun. She sang all the time. She wanted us to sing all the time. She had this. She did it with. I brought. We just came from Ohio last week, and I brought the
I saw that
kids
grass.
and
I saw that grass.
and she's singing with the babies, and the babies singing back with her because she just got. That's my mom, and she does that all. She used to do it all the way up. She just it's just slick in. Let me make up a song, and so she would every trip we would start with a song. She did songs from A to Z and back, cleaning up the house. There's songs everywhere. She was the lead minister of the house, so Bible study she ran them like, So we had church at home, like, and we had church at home. So it was like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning praying together, and it was a lot. And so she was the one that was kept the energy fly and fresh. And so every she was the one that allowed me to respect other women, of course, because of her love and affection towards her boys, and how she I was back home, and some of my friends was like, yeah, Mrs. Levy used to come and wear all the first place ribbons on field day and wear them across her chest, and it was nothing better than to make her smile and happy, and she was graceful, but at the same time she built us up in a way that was you know it was really good. It gave us a good template of what to expect, getting married and all that stuff too. So my mom is all of it. She was really the bomb.
Wow.
Um, she was the liaison for a lot of the discerning type of stuff. My dad was the one that drove humility and discipline, and my mom was a disciplinarian too. But it was just my mom was the one that gave us the love and showed us what you know we didn't have any women. It was no other girls in the house. My
Right.
mom was it, and so it
Oh
was it was
Lord. I
nice
know I
though.
know she was the queen.
She is, she always will be, and I hope she feels that way. But she's the one, and then my wife will be the other one, and she's the one I learned from though. My mom is the one that gave the support and showed how to be a black man and that sort of thing. But my wife is the one that you learn the small lessons, and I needed it personally. Being with all boys, I was just rugged and raw, and a lot of things, a lot of things. And listening to her and talking to her, she was really, um, luckily, she liked me enough to talk to me. And seriously, like, okay, so, my wife and I have been together since high school. And it's
Yes,
like,
I
yo, like,
know.
if in the 12th grade, I wasn't, I was a jock and I was going to college and all this stuff, but it was just so much I didn't know.
Right.
And it was like she was the one that, okay, this is how my parents do it. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, put that in. And then when we started living together, oh, this is the way. Oh, okay, well,
Oh,
and
okay.
you kind of go back and forth. When we went to premarital counseling class, there's this image that they gave us on the first day. I feel like I learned so much on the first day of the premarital counseling class. I'm so serious. We did a questionnaire. I feel like I learned so much about her, just about everything, just in the first class. The rest of the classes, I'm like, well, can we
I
go back to
learned
the first
everything I
class?
need to know.
I'm so serious. So, but one of the classes they said, the man is the head and the woman is like the neck, and my wife is so the neck because she be all over the place. But at the same time, there's so much that she's shown me because she's all over. Look at this, and look at this, and look at this, and look at this, and it's like, okay, okay. And it's a good balance. I'm calm. She's the wild child. She off the chain, but she's
I
amazing
love,
and smart.
I
And
love your wife. She has such a beautiful spirit, and I think I love her the most because she doesn't care what people think about her. She's herself freely, and I can appreciate that because I grew up in the church with so many fake people,
yeah,
who put on, who pretend and who put on. So being around her, the times that you all have welcomed us into your home and things like that, just being able to see her be herself, I love that because I have just been around so many people who didn't know how to live in their self, live in their skin, and I love her for that because she's just so honest. She's never, as far as I know, she ain't never lied to me, and she
she ain't
tells me
got
that
to.
she has told me the truth harshly. She told me, even I know you might like it, but this is, you know, and I appreciate that because there's so many people who lie to you. That's how you end up with all these people on American Idol that
But
can't sing. Somebody lies to them their whole life,
ain't
you know.
ain't that what love is though? That's love.
Yes,
And
that's
and,
what
and when
love
you really
is.
care for somebody, you got to tell them the real. And I love that for her too. She's really a a a special type of energy. And
Yes,
so I'm lucky to have somebody that is a fire spark through and through,
she is. She's such a flame.
firecracker. It's crazy.
But I love it. And God has gifted her, just to be able to, be truthful in her way. And it doesn't come off harsh. It doesn't come off brash. It's just her truth. And and she shares that truth and you're not offended by it or anything like that. You like, well, she not lying, and I love that.
Right.
I love that about her. So we only have a few minutes left, Justin. So I want to tell you, thank you so much for being a part of my show. You may not know it or not, but you are my last guest. This is my last show.
Oh,
And they say you save the best. You go and
the
save the best
best
for
for
last.
last.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you got to run it too.
Hey, hey. So, I'm just so grateful that you took some time to be with me and to be not my last guest, but to be my closer, to
Yeah,
close something out, Hmm, it's a significant thing. So I appreciate you and I appreciate your time. I know you're doing some amazing things. Side note, Madison loves Love So Soft. Like she plays that song like over and over again.
really.
And I told her, I said, well,
Hey.
Madison, Mr. Justin helped arrange that album. So a lot of these sounds are sounds that he created. And she was like, wow. So I told her, she's like, um, does he live with Kelly Clarkson? I was like, nah, no. No, no, they go in the studio and they work on it and they leave, um, but she loves a lot of the work that you've done, and so do so many other people, So if you have an opportunity, go out there, look, Justin, tell people where they can find things surrounding you. I know you've done a Christmas album. I know you've done a lot of different things. So tell people where they can find your work and the things that you've done.
Well, be on the lookout. I got some stuff in the works. I'm going to be releasing some stuff real soon. Um, but I have a Christmas project that's out. I did 3 songs on Kelly Clarkson's Piece by Piece album, where we did arrangements for 3 of the songs. Cruel, I think was the biggest one. Um, I'm new stuff on the way for
Yeah.
sure. I just sent it out, so be
Y'all,
on the
and
lookout.
he make good
Levitation
stuff
Music,
now. Mm.
and got some other stuff. Some of my other guys that I've been helping produce all around the place. So I'm humble, and so I'm not going to push it out too far, but just know that new stuff is coming, and I'm not going to hesitate to push this stuff. This is going
Listen,
to have
pushing
my
on
name
out.
on
One
it.
of my students is on here. Hey, baby girl, I see you. I feel like I haven't seen my students in forever. Um, But so thank you guys so much for rocking with me for 2 months with I Am Woman the Conversation. Thank you, Justin, for being my closer, my final guest. I appreciate you. I'm excited about everything you're doing. You guys have a great night, and I'll see you soon. I promise. Bye.